All right, what's going on, everybody? Zillman, what's going on, brother? Well, we're here to give you the show, Zillman. That's it, every Friday. Let's get Dave in. Oh, it's about time.
Yeah. What's going on?
Getting
We're
ready
back
to
in the
do the show,
home
man.
base here.
We're here to give you the show, Zillman. That's it, every Friday.
Good.
Come
We got the
on.
laptop going. Is it weird or good to be back in the home base? I don't know. I kind of liked it from the show.
I was, listen, it definitely was a different atmosphere, I will say that.
You got them knuckleheads from Wicked Weights across from us when we were at the show. What's going on, Wicked Ma? Yeah. I mean, we were just talking. You were just redoing something on your set. I'm like, I feel like I'm back at the booth. I showed you my setup. I'm like, I got the whole table set up again.
Oh, we got him.
What's happening,
Larry, what's
fellas?
going on, buddy? How you doing?
Pretty good. How are y'all?
We're doing good. We were kind of just shooting the shit real quick. We just came back from last weekend from like an outdoor expo for about 4 days, and we were just like, man, it takes a couple days to get unpacked. I'm the worst with it. I feel like I'm that guy. It's like a week later, I'm still unpacking something.
Hey, I get that.
So, all right, we're gonna give it probably like one more minute or so, bud. Kind of let some people log on, and then you can hear us good and see us good and everything.
Oh yeah,
All right.
looking real good.
Yep.
All right,
Yeah,
cool.
it sounds good, Chris. You got me good.
I got you good. I got everybody good. The picture's good. Everybody's happy.
All right. Well, the show is yours, Chris. Let it rock whenever you're
All
ready.
right, let's roll right into it. Welcome everybody to another episode of Pursuit Live. As always, I am joined with my partner in lives, Mr. Dave Hawkins.
What's up, everybody?
And tonight we're gonna have a very interesting discussion. You know, we've kind of been trying to get this going for a little while. We were finally able to seal the deal. So tonight, from NightHawk Footwear, Mr. Jason Laury is joining us. So Jason, thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
Want to take a minute and let everybody know we are still running our Pursuit Live 2024 fundraiser to benefit the American Bear Foundation, Wounded Warriors in Action, and the NYPD Archery Team. Tickets are still available. Please message me, message Dave, message Rob for details. We're more than halfway sold. Tickets are actually going pretty quickly. So if you want them, let us know. We'll get you in. We're giving away a 2024 Matthews lift with the stabilizer and a quiver and a Trophy Ridge sight and a QAD rest. Eastern Axis arrows. What else we got in there? Delta Mackenzie target
Pop-up
and a
line
pop-up
on top of it.
line.
Yeah.
I think that's everything. Anyway, it's like a $3,000 package all said and done. So if you want it, we're not keeping a dime of it. All the proceeds are going to those great organizations. So send us a message. We'll get you locked in. With that, let's just roll right into the show.
All right. So one thing I did want to add at the beginning of the show for the next couple is we're starting to gain a couple more viewers, new viewers per episode, which is great. So basically what this is, it's a live interaction. Obviously, we have 3 different accounts here, Chris from Only Bows, myself at Urban Pursuit, and our guest. And our guest tonight is Jason Laury with NightHawk. So if at any point you see Chris and I typing on the keyboard, that's the actually interactive comments you'll see on the side of your screen or at the bottom of your screen. If at any point you got questions, you can type it in. Everybody can see those comments, or it's just kind of like 2 shows in one. So that's why we like doing these live essential podcasts through Instagram. So if you're new to it, that's basically what's going on, and we're going to kick it off right now. So Jason, thank you very much for joining us tonight. It has been a little bit. We've been trying to kind of just set up the schedules and everything, so I'm glad it worked out good for tonight. What we like to do in the beginning is we kind of want to give everybody that basic generic podcast style intro, but not only on the hunting side, let everybody know like who you are, like the everyday guy, like what do you do, what's your work background, how does that associate with anything you do in the outdoors, and then start us off, like what got you outside at an early age, what were you hunting, things like that.
Well, basically, we've got NightHawk's own. We got 3 owners. Some of that's listed on our website. There's an about page, but one of our owners is a veteran, Army veteran, and he actually is, contracted to the military. Spends a lot of time in the Philippines. He works on helicopter and airplane engines, so he does a lot of work through the military. So he is the veteran of our company. So we are 1/3 partnered with the veteran. Is why we help out a lot of veteran charities and things like that. The other 2 owners, myself and John, are both local here in Atlanta, and we are actually both anesthesia providers. We're both anesthetists. So we've been doing that. We met each other in school at Emory University, 2001, and have known each other for 20-something years now. So John is actually big, and John and myself do a lot of backpacking, backcountry backpacking, primitive backpacking. And when we met, we did a lot of that. And I'm the hunter of the 3 of the owners. So I got into hunting early, 15 years old, and mostly whitetail hunting and squirrels. My brothers would drag me around and squirrel hunt all the time when I was a kid. But then I got into whitetail hunting, and then later in life started doing hog hunting and kind of expanding. So,
Where'd you grow up then? I'm just curious. Let everybody know kind of roughly where you're coming from for your background.
So I grew up mostly in Atlanta area, just kind of north of Atlanta. JR is from Florida, our veteran, and John is from up north, Connecticut and upper parts of New York. I think he lived in different areas up there.
So down in Georgia there, I mean, obviously now, like you get to some of these suburban areas, like I think it's Atlanta itself, overrun with deer. I mean, was that the case back then, or is that something that kind of just steadily progressed over the years, you think?
We've had a lot of deer outside of Atlanta for a long time. I think, interestingly enough, this past 2023, the DNR published an article saying that it was actually the smallest amount of tags were filled in 2023 in the last 10 years.
Wow.
So for some reason, there are less hunters in the Atlanta area. Now, I don't know what that is from, whether it's for people moving into Atlanta who don't hunt and kind of flushing everybody else out, or just life's gotten so busy, people are not getting out to hunt as much. So it's interesting. That was very interesting to me because they actually opened up the season in Georgia this year. The either sex days were the whole season. So we didn't have any limitations. So you could go out and shoot whatever you wanted at the time. But it was very surprising to me. They still harvested quite a few deer, but there are deer still everywhere. I mean, literally both of my kids have wrecked their cars in the last month and a half from deers hitting them. So
no, it's a very unfortunate reality. Like I'm on Long Island, New York, for example. So that very dense, not only deer population but human population as well.
Yeah, sure.
So I mean, it really is. You combine that with a tick factor and just all the other things that go on. It's they in a lot of areas they border that limit of whether or not they're nuisance or not. It's a lot of properties you could get a nuisance permit rather easy. So it's not good for the deer. It's not good for the humans. You want to be able to just kind of coexist as best you can. But unfortunately, we keep building. We won't go down that rabbit hole tonight. But they're running out of spots to go. It's just that simple.
Crazy part is some of the biggest bucks in Georgia have been harvested in the Atlanta, in Fulton County, which is downtown Atlanta.
Okay.
Inner city bucks. They've harvested some huge ones down there.
Oh yeah.
bow only, obviously,
Yeah.
but
I think I
yeah.
follow a page. I think it's just straight up called Urban Deer Management. It's got like a green logo. Those guys are pretty cool. I think
Yeah.
they actually work with Seek One. They just did their Doe Day pretty
Uh,
recently and everything. So it's pretty cool to see like how widespread like that whole area really comes together on that one day and really get it done. They have a big barbecue afterwards and everything. It's pretty cool.
yeah.
So
That sounds.
all right, very cool. So as we're going here, as you're progressing in your hunting career, did you find yourself doing more rifle hunting, more archery hunting? Probably with where you're at, was it more archery based?
Yeah. I started off mostly rifle hunting and
Okay.
muzzleloader hunting,
Okay.
and then I got interested in bow hunting. Bought my first bow as a Matthew Switchback XT back in the day, and probably hunted with that for about 6 or 7 years.
Nice.
Obviously, I didn't sell my rifles, so then I got kind of older and lazier, and would just go rifle hunting at clubs and stuff around here. And then recently, probably about 2 or 3 years ago, I bought another bow and have been doing more bow hunting now than I have rifle hunting. So it's kind of switched back,
All right.
just more for the challenge,
Yeah,
and just the thrill. It's so much better.
I agree. And there's nothing wrong with shotgun hunting, rifle hunting. If that's your only means or that's the way you grew up hunting, that's great. Get out there, keep doing it. But
Sure.
we talk about it a lot. There is something very unique about just being in your tree or on the ground even, but just being out there with the bow. A lot of guys, and I agree with it, it's very primitive almost. You definitely feel a very strong connection, in the woods when you're out there with a bow. It's hard to describe until you actually do it. It's kind of the best way we all put it.
Yeah.
And then when you harvest something on top of that, and then you're able to find it, to cook it, share the story with people. I mean, that's how we started,
Right.
so as a civilization, basically. So it's
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like to call it primitive connection, without a doubt, when you're archery hunting.
And I mean, I think.
So over the years, have you ever been able to? Do you have something in mind that would stick out as like an early success story, or maybe like a hard lesson learned from one of your encounters throughout the years?
Are you talking about for hunting or
Yeah,
just?
I mean, if it was a personal thing, throughout the hunt season, but yeah, strictly hunting related, let's say, like, what was one thing that you remember, like, man, I really did well on that. That turned out well, or man, that was tough. I learned a lot from that scenario, but it was a good encounter anyway.
Well, this is kind of a funny story, but about 2 years ago, one of the guys I hunt with, his wife hunts with us as well. She had shot a nice sized doe, and we were going to look for it. And it was in October in Georgia. Sometimes you'll get 75-degree weather, so
Yeah.
it was a warm day, and we're coming down a power line hill, and I was walking next to his wife, and he was walking over kind of on the edge of the wood line. And as we're walking down the hill, she sees a giant timber rattlesnake and basically grabs me and throws me between her and the snake. So I'm like, okay, that's great. So I'm staring down like a 6 foot timber rattle that had just eaten a squirrel, basically. Fortunately it just eaten a squirrel and was sitting kind of coiled up on the bottom
Right.
of a stump. That basically you're talking somewhere 4 or 5 inches in circumference, around the midsection, and the length of an F-250 tailgate.
Yeah.
I mean, big snake. So I've heard timber rattlesnakes. I've seen some from a distance, but I've never been that close. So that to me was like, wow, these big snakes, the most venomous snakes in Georgia for sure, as far as the hardest hitting, with biting, things like that, are right here all around us, and we've probably been stepping over them for a long
All right.
time. So, which we'll go into
Yeah,
that
that's
later.
going to
That
be a good
we,
segue for later on,
we have
100%.
some solutions for
There you
that.
go.
So.
Very good. So basically, right now, I have two more quick interactions with yourself, and then so for anybody else that's tuning in now, or it's your first time listening, I'm about to wrap up with our guest now, Jason Laury from NightHawk. And then what we do is Chris takes turn. He takes over the next section, and then I'm able to interact with the comments just like he's been doing while I'm kind of interviewing you now. So second to last question is, do you have any pre-hunt ritual that you do? It could be funny. It could be serious. Do you catch yourself doing anything like that?
Uh, so the only thing that I really do, I have this silly like head cover, kind of like a what do they call them, baklavas or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yep. Yep.
Just a it's like a camo head cover,
Okay.
and the thing probably, I'm always super hot in it, especially if it's warmer outside. But it's kind of like that dirty T-shirt that you wear when you're playing sports.
Yeah.
It's your good luck shirt.
Yep.
So I don't go hunting without that. So it's kind of
Okay.
one of those things, and it can be warm outside, and I still wear it. I mean,
Yeah. It's almost like you feel naked not bringing it on. You
yeah,
like you feel
it's
it.
just
Yeah.
kind of like you get that feeling around your head, and you feel like, all right, I'm in that element now.
Nice.
And it's a scent lock one too I bought years ago, and it to me it just keeps obviously my scent really really hidden.
Yeah.
Along with sprays and other things, I do use sprays, scent sprays and things like that as well on my boots before I get into the stand. Really, when I get out of the truck, but other than that, nothing like crazy.
Okay.
Uh,
It's funny. It's a funny
I do.
question. It's pretty
I do have
straightforward.
different, like, I have rituals, obviously, like if I'm shooting a rifle, when I'm getting set up to ready to shoot deer, breathing type things and just normal stuff that people do when they trying to be more accurate. But, and I do that for sure. But that's the only thing I can really think of that I do.
Okay. That's all right. No, it's like I said, it is a straightforward question. We've had some funny responses to it. Your answer was great, but we definitely had some funny answers to it. Whether it's playing a certain song or like, it was a random thing. I can't leave house without it. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's funny, but I was a lot. We say this. A lot of us played sports in our past to some degree or another, so we get superstitious. Same thing with hunting. I know for a fact I catch myself like really doing that OCD check before you leave, and because the minute you get in that tree, it's like, and he's like, oh crap, I know right where it is, but it's not on me. It's the worst feeling.
Yeah.
So, what personal quality about yourself do you think makes you an effective hunter? If you had to pick one.
Probably patience. I mean,
Yeah.
think about what I described as our job. I mean, when I go to work, I sit there and watch people sleep all day long. You have to be very patient. You have to take in your surroundings, be attentive to your details, and take in multiple things at one time. I mean, same stuff I use at work to monitor patients when they're sleeping. I use in the field as well. You're paying, listening for different animals. Watching the way the wind's blowing, obviously for two reasons: for scent and for shooting. Just listening for any kind of activity behind you, or looking at the direction of the sun, or whatever it may be while you're hunting. Those are things that actually carry over from my job to when I hunt. So.
And that's very interesting. Like your scenario here is a perfect example why we like people to know like the person themselves. What do you do? What's your day to day? What is your job? Some people we have on, whatever their brand is that we have them on for, that is their full time job. But like yourself, like you have a very like legitimate, very serious job, and it's like it's amazing how you're doing that. And then on top of that, you have this other passion, and it's apples and oranges. It couldn't be any further opposite
Right.
away, but it's a part of your life. So that's why we want to get to know the brand about the people we're bringing on, but we also we like to learn the people. Just everyday guys. Like, what do you do? So I really think, and then there you go. You were able to make that connection from your everyday job, into the woods, and by using patience. So it's pretty cool how some of these things always intertwine.
Yeah.
I'm not that good. It doesn't happen every time, but it worked out good tonight. I connected the dots pretty good.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's one of those things where when you're doing a job for so long, you can't help but to have the qualities of that job carry over into just about anything you do. Some good, some bad, but I think that helps when obviously being in the woods if you're impatient, and that could come with there's a nice buck walks out in front of you, and you're like, all right, but the conditions aren't exactly right for me to take that buck. So having that maturity to say, let that one walk, because if I shoot it, I might spine it, or I might do something, you know, gut shot it or something, I'm messing up. It needs to be the perfect scenario. So being able to actually be patient and be like, all right, let's let that one walk and until the next time when the conditions are just right. So from a safety aspect, and we'll talk about that later, you know, we're in risk management every day of our lives. So we look at safety as number one priority, and that carries over into our business as well. And making something quality, which our products, we'll talk about that as well.
Yep. No, that's very, very well said. That's a perfect way to end that segment, 100%. And then this is where I'm gonna hand you off to Chris, and Chris is gonna take over the next segment. And that was great. I appreciate that. Thank you very much for your time. And we're on to the good stuff now, where we can let you really dive in, and we're gonna cut you loose soon. So, Chris, the show is yours, buddy. Have at it.
All right. So I always like to open this part of the show by asking one question. So this is a personal question before we get into NightHawk. If what are three things you have to carry with you every time you go into the woods, aside from your license or your weapon or anything like that? What's your most essential gear? 3 items that you have to carry all the time.
Well, obviously, I carry a pair of lighted gaiters now. So, as of number one, that's essential now. Let's see. I carry a small backpack because I don't take a whole lot. You know, some people take their house and 3 bedrooms when they get out there, when you really don't need that, or 17 calls, you know. So I basically have 1 grunt call, I have 1 bleat call. It depends on what I'm hunting, obviously. Like if I'm turkey hunting, I have 1 mouth call. I mean, so it's like I try to minimize, be minimalist of what I'm taking in the woods. Because I don't want to carry it if I got to track a deer for a good ways, which I'm good at doing that. Because for obvious reasons. But the other part of that is, you gotta take that stuff in and you gotta take it back out. So it's like, what all do I really need? Let's simplify it. So it's kind of the same thing I talked about. We used to do primitive backpacking. When you go on a long backpacking trip, you take what you need, not foot warmers and this and that and the other. So try to streamline. Over the years, I've tried to streamline it. So backpack, lighted gaiters, and let's see. One thing, if it's cold, one thing I really like is those. I don't know if you guys ever use those, just snap-on hand warmers. It's just like a huggy on the front of your body.
Yeah.
Because I don't like wearing gloves really when I'm hunting, even if it's cold. Just because I like to have that tactile feel on my trigger if I'm using a gun, or obviously bow hunting. So I keep one of those on, which they look goofy, but it doesn't really matter. They're camouflage.
Those suckers they're warm, man. They do the job without a doubt.
They do, and that enables me to actually pull my hands out and use them and have that tactile feel to things like that.
It's a good spot for your phone as well. If you can keep a hand warm near your phone, but then put it in there.
Exactly.
If anybody that's got an older phone and your battery's always dying in the cold, you got to keep that battery warm. So you either got to get it close to your skin, or like that muff pack like you're talking about. It'll help save the battery on your phone without a doubt.
Exactly.
All right, so let's dive into NightHawk here.
Okay.
You already told us how you guys met. Kind of after you guys met, what was the spark that really birthed this idea for NightHawk?
Okay, so initially, and a lot of people always ask us the question, well, why did you guys name your company NightHawk Footwear? And you make gaiters. A lot of people, and of course we have NightHawk gaiters and NightHawk Footwear, but the parent company, we actually developed a company. The parent company is called NightHawk Designs and Solutions LLC. Okay, so NightHawk is the main company. NightHawk Footwear got developed. We have a patent on boots actually with lights on them as well. So the boots are not developed yet. And then, so what we decided to do is come out with the gaiters first. So roll those out. while we're working on other things with the boots, with lighting and different kinds of prototypes and things like that. Obviously, boots require a lot of sizes, a lot of styles. So you can obviously, if from a young company starting out, there's a lot more overhead involved with that. So that's coming down the line. But with the way we establish this company, we try to establish it by making good connections, quality people. We are self-funded, so we don't owe anybody money. We pay for our own products. We pay for our own advertise. Everything comes from within the company. That being said, we try to keep our products priced so that they do not gouge the common person. So our goal when we sat down and said, hey, let's develop some gaiters. Let's develop something we're coming into a market with gaiters already in there, right? Just like anything else. But we added a feature to it that nobody's got, which is the light feature to the gaiters. And that's what we have patented. So when we did that, we're like, how do we come into the gaiter market and provide something that is good quality and is not going to break the bank? And so we did a lot of research, looked at 20 different pairs of gaiters when we developed ours, anywhere from $29 pair of outdoor research gaiters, cheap ones, to $300 pair of Kinetrex or Kui, all Gore-Tex gaiters. And we laid them all out and basically looked at all the things that we thought were good about them, bad about them, okay about them, what we thought, how we thought companies developed them for longevity, or for marketing, or for revenue purposes for that particular company. And we said, we want to develop something that's super good quality, very tough, and have stuff on it's replaceable so that people aren't out. Like, for instance, our strap at the bottom is completely replaceable. A lot of companies sew it on one side and have a buckle on the other. So if something happens to your strap, you got to buy a new pair of gaiters or take it to get sewn back on or something like that. So things like that, when we developed it, we try to keep that all in mind.
All right. Now you guys came out with the lighted gaiters. Now, what was really the inspiration for adding lights to gaiters, doing something that nobody else had done?
I'm even going to pause you guys 1 second. Do you happen to have a pair in front of you that maybe you could hold up, just in case anybody? We've thrown the term gaiters out there a lot, and in case somebody's either hesitant to ask or maybe they don't fully understand what we're talking about. There you go.
Here's a pair of what are these are our Cahutta gaiters. Probably the most common non-snake version we have. So there's the back. I don't know if you can see it.
And that's the strap you were talking about at the bottom there. That's replaceable, right? That takes a lot of wear and tear. Yep.
This strap right here is called it's made out of a material called TPU.
Okay.
And so on one side we put a quick release buckle.
Nice.
On that side. And this side is actually, I don't know if you can see it, but it's a metal buckle that's got adjustability. And then if you look here, the thing that drove me crazy about wearing hiking gaiters, that strap, you would step on it. So we made a little sleeve right here so that holds the excess strap. Just little details like that. So if this strap could be replaced if you need to. Now, we've been in business a little over 2 years and have not had a single strap break on us yet from any client. So
nice.
They're freeze proof. They're super tough. One of our main field testers, which is this guy right here, Martin. He's down in swamps in Georgia, and he wears a pair of these over snake boots, which is our Trailblazers. They're a little bit different design. They've got a elastic band in the middle right here, and they're made of ripstop fabric. A couple combinations of fabrics in the front. This is Oxford. This appears the same material as this whole gaiter is made of, but down here is more like your backpacking material. So it's a lighter weight, and these are what are lightweight. They're super light gaiters. But anyway, he wears a pair of these over snake boots, and I think he's on about 3 or 3.5 years on our first prototype we gave him. And walking through swamps with cypress knees. And I don't know if you guys have ever seen cypress knees, cypress stumps that come out of a swamp. They're extremely sharp. They'll cut the side of a side-by-side tire. I mean, if you go through and you hit it. So that's how sharp they are. And he walks through there all the time. So no issues out of the straps. The light, here's a light that comes out of it. So it's got 3 different settings, a high, medium, low, and off. It's 150 lumens each light on the white lights. So they'll actually give you 300 lumens together. And the nice part is you pull the little cover off, and it's a USB. So you take that and you plug it into any USB port to recharge it.
Smart.
And then once you put your little cap back on, let me get a pair that's right here. So here's the void where the light goes. So all you do, turn that back off. This is what we call the sleeve. So it's the outer cover of the gator. It pulls back, and the way we designed it, it's sewn halfway across to the middle for a couple different reasons. So you take the light, and you actually, I'm trying to get this, I see where it's a compression fit on the back. Once you push it in there, then it's in. It's got a rubber gasket around there, and there's the back of it seated in that rubber gasket. Now that keeps it in, pretty much held in place. But then you also have Velcro that attaches it to the front of the gator and locks it in place, basically, where it'll never come out. You know, if you flip it over. So a couple different protection mechanisms were thought out, and then of course we have red lights also available. And they're interchangeable. So you go in the woods, you want red, pull it out, throw a red light in. If you want white, throw a white light in.
I'm definitely liking the red light aspect. That's smart. You know, a lot of guys, you know, they like that over the bright white lights. So that's smart.
Yep.
I forget where I was watching the videos. I don't know if it was on your Instagram or on the website, but you had a really good tutorial on basically how to wear them. You know, how to you approach them from the back, you zip them fully down. Obviously, yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong. We're start at the bottom with the bootstrap. Obviously, there's a zipper. You have them fully open. I mean, could you walk us through that process on how you actually got them on? Well, I know it's hard on camera, but you could just talk us through it.
Actually putting them on?
No, you didn't have to put them on, but what is the process if you were going to put them on? We have a couple people, they've never really used gaiters before, so I kind of want to give them as best a visual as we can right now with your product.
Yeah, and one thing I saw a comment go by I was going to address, these lights are not completely waterproof, and that is because it's hard with the USB port coming out. We've looked at ways to try to get a gasket in there. It's very difficult, that design, to make them completely waterproof. They are water resistant, highly water resistant. So if you put them into the gator the way it's designed, that rubber gasket, I mean, I have a video on Instagram somewhere. There's a couple videos, but there's one of me spraying, or my daughter was spraying my leg with one of them on. And it's like a 5-minute test after she sprayed them. And then there's another girl that does some stuff for us in Texas, and she's got a pressure washer, and she's cleaning hers off with a pressure washer. I mean, I've had guys dunk down into gator holes in Florida and come up and like, man, I just trashed the light. And I'm like, nah, just let it dry out, it'll be fine. And they turn them on, they're fine. So they'll take a little bit of weather. Like, I was talking to somebody the other day, you know, I guess people don't realize how much research and time goes into developing products. So people, we get a lot of random comments on the internet that, you know, are like, oh, that's so gimmicky. You know, you just got some light, blah, 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 and threw them on some gators. I'm like, okay. All right.
Don't do it then. Don't try and do it.
Yeah. I'm like, okay. It also is patent pending. So there's process behind all this. But there's been a lot of testing. We've tested in Alaska. We've tested in like 4 different countries, not in the U.S., and zones that have a lot of snow, i.e. Germany, places like that. We've also had, what's that?
Have you tested them in Africa yet?
Yes, they've been in Africa. They've been in Africa, but the only one safari organization has used them. But they've been all over the world. There's a video we've got of a girl named Larissa Switalik. She's Larissa Unleashed. She's got a big following. She took them over to Malaysia. She was the first female to hunt in Malaysia. And I've got some videos on there. And everywhere she's gone, she's taken our gators and used them there. So
Nice.
they've been all over the world. I mean, literally, they've been to Japan, the Philippines. I mean, you name it, and tried in different environments. So I get a lot of people saying about the waterproof light and all that. I'm like, we didn't design the light to be, and I tell this to people all the time, we didn't design the lights to be the brightest thing in the woods. We didn't design the lights to be, take down while you're scuba diving. I mean, it's an adjunct in the woods to use, and they're pretty bulletproof unless you do something stupid like kneel down on a rock or do something. It's a plastic housing on it, so it's going to break just like anything else.
Sure.
I mean, so you just got to be conscious about how you use them. Obviously, the way we design them, you can kneel down and get on your knee and not crush the light. So that was a big thing for fishermen sitting on the side of a boat, because a lot of fishermen use our these black trailblazers because they're so small and they can wad them up. See that? And that's one of them. But you can do that and throw them, take the light out and go even smaller, and throw it into somewhere in their boat, one of their little lockers, and then pull them out when they need them. They pop the lights out, take them home, charge them when they're ready to go fishing. They carry their lights with them, and the gators are in the boat. So there's a lot of applications, like practical applications. So if you look at the practicality of it all, there was a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of science behind the actual light penetration. If you scroll through our Instagram, you'll come across posts like that. Like you'll see the actual equation that we used and determine the amount of light lost from a distance and height and all that. But not to go into all that when you bring light close to the ground, okay, this is the thing I use at trade shows all the time. If you take a flashlight and you look down, you turn the lights off in a room, you take a flashlight and you turn it on looking down the wall, like drywall, you're going to see every imperfection of that drywall, right? So if you take these lights and you put them down close to the ground, you're going to see every dip and bump in the ground.
Yep.
And your brain automatically calculates that. You don't have to do anything because your brain's like, oh, there's a dip, there's a bump. So when you walk, you're completely on balance. So if you have a headlamp and you're walking, when you walk in the woods, I don't care. I've been people argue with me on this, but when I walk with a headlamp, I'm slightly forward at night because you naturally are just kind of looking down and forward. So you're a little bit off balance. Your equilibrium's slightly off. Not bad. I mean, obviously we compensate, but it's a little like, ooh, weird, With these, you can stand straight up. You can walk through the woods at night, and it just shines everywhere. I mean, you have so much. Like, I don't even use mine on high. I use them on low when I go deer hunting because there's plenty of light on low with the white lights. The red lights are great for sneaking in the woods. A lot of the hog hunters like them. Anywhere that there's any kind of underbrush, you're not going to see those lights. So if you compare, like, say, holding a flashlight in the woods, like you think of it this way, like lighting systems when you go into the woods. Like if I asked you, what do you carry for lights if you go in the woods? You're either going to get, I don't use light, I use the moonlight. I've heard that. You're going to hear, I use a flashlight or I use a headlamp is generally the three comments, right? So if you're using a flashlight, you're usually carrying it about waist level, correct? So where are deer's eyes? Usually about waist level. If you're wearing a headlamp, they're definitely going to see the light, regardless of the color. They're going to see the reflection.
I hate that bouncing. That's the biggest thing. I don't use them anymore. That every step, and now you just lighten up everything every step. I got to cut you off. I love the idea on the gators because I keep a tiny little flashlight. It's literally only like 3 inches long. I know you guys are gonna chew that up in the comments. Whatever, have fun with that. It's one little battery LED flashlight, and it's literally on a little tether on my horn. It's literally just, where do I use it though? For my feet. I'm not looking to find markers. I'm not looking for like downrange. It's literally just as I'm walking to look at my feet. Now with these Gators, I literally don't even have to use that little flashlight.
Right.
It's that. I love it. It's something so simple,
Yeah.
not easy to do, but it's
Yeah.
so practical, and that's what makes it so useful.
Exactly.
So
All
I'm
right,
all
so
for it.
to quote my buddy Rob,
Yeah.
engineer. Well, yeah, I am. So I'm gonna get technical here.
Yeah.
Now, getting into your design. Like, do you guys have an in-house design team, or is it just the three of you guys and you did the design for this?
So if you okay, to answer your question, we design everything. As far as going like we have used engineers as far as if we have to take it to get it, like say CAD software for a production. You have to that's just a process you have to do for larger scale production. You have to get them to make a CAD file and be able to submit that to a certain format for mass production. But as far as the actual, like it, once again, like on our website, if you go down to and read at some of the bottom tabs at the very bottom of the main page, you'll see like about NightHawk Footwear, and you'll see some diagrams of like boots with like angles and things like that. All that was done by us. So we actually have to submit during the patent process. You have to submit so many pictures and diagrams and descriptions and a lot of that stuff for anybody that's trying to patent a product. The more you can do yourself, the cheaper it is. I mean, you're not having to pay a patent lawyer to do it. So we try to do most of our stuff, our work ourselves, and research and that kind of thing. So most of the things you will see, even with like our, for instance, like all our social media stuff. Like I do all our social media stuff, and I've had a Facebook account prior to 2 years ago. I had a Facebook account maybe when I was in college. I literally have done no social media, so I've had to learn how to do all our social media, and I've learned how to create reels and get content, put it in, and add music, and what's popular, what's not. And that being said, as we'll revert back, we all work full-time jobs. So this is all done at 9-10 o'clock at night, sometimes into the wee hours of the morning, and getting up and getting up at 5:30 to go to work the next day. So it's a long process, and we're in it for the long haul. We're not the type of company that's like, hey, we've got this great product and we're going to force it on you and we want to make millions of dollars and then we just want to exit stage left and then we're going to be friends with these big people and forget about all these little people that helped us out in the beginning. We're not that company. We're straightforward, hardworking guys that want to help people in the woods and do it efficiently and cost effectively.
How was it received at NWTF? I saw that you guys made it there, which is awesome, by the way. That's a big accomplishment.
So this is actually the second year we've been there.
Was the second year? Okay, good.
Yeah, we went last year and did pretty well.
Okay.
And last year, so I guess you could call us back to company things as well. We listen to our customers, and we're not prideful. So if you came to us and say, "Hey, man," obviously we have 7,000 opinions come in all the time. A lot of them are just people not realizing the process behind getting something like that changed. But I have to explain to them, yeah, that's great, but that would interfere with so-and-so's patent, or that would do this, and we can't really do that. But so at the first show we went to at an NWTF, we basically sold these two sets of Gators at that show. Did really well first year, and everybody kept coming up, and I kept a clipboard at the show and listened for people say they walked by, and the first thing they would feel the material and they'd say, "Are these snake resistant or snake proof?" And I'd be like, "No, these aren't, they're thick, but they've never been tested or anything. So out of the 3 days of the show, 35 to 40 people per day ask about snake gaiters. So what do? Well, let's design some. So we started researching like what's out there, and listening to people's comments. Yeah, I had a pair of these, but man, they had those plastic inserts and they were so uncomfortable and they were one size fits all. And I had to pull them real tight, and they would slide all over the place. And we're like, well, you know what? We can make some that are comfortable and have a light. So we did. So we designed a pair. They're basically, I've got a pair right here. They're basically identical in style to the Cahutas, which the Cahutas are these green and brown ones that you have. But we made them all OD green, and then just has a simple little NightHawk logo on the back. Okay. And then on the inside of them, they open exactly the same way. There's your snake-proof liner. See that black liner? So if you look down on the inside of this, there's a white material in there. I've got this opened up so you can see it. That white material is actually a puncture-resistant material. And so, obviously, we were, once again, being research-based type of company and trying to do it the right way from the get-go. We looked at all the companies and what do snake gaiter companies do for certification, or how do you get this where you can sell it to the public safely? Well, there's a company in Ohio. It's a lab basically that tests for safety of equipment, clothing, and some of these companies have had that lab test their materials and they passed according to whatever the minimal standards are. But there's only one other company that we found that actually did live snake testing with snake gaiters. And that's a company called Turtle Skins. They sell them some really nice snake gaiters, and they're material only, just like ours are. They sell about $210, I think, a set on Amazon, and they stay sold out pretty much. So what do? We created, once again, back to our company motto. We made a pair for, I think we're selling for like $129 now online, and are just as effective, and they're extremely comfortable, just like the Cahutas. I mean, everybody comments how comfortable they are. So we're trying to bring, once again, products that are effective, good quality, and are not too expensive.
I can't fathom being in that position, like having to rely on your great product to keep a rattlesnake bite from entering my leg. Like I said, here up on Long Island, we battle other creatures. We joke about the Karens. We don't have any predators up here, so just the fact that this, and this is why these shows are great, because it's not even a thought in my head. I go out in the woods in the morning. I'm not thinking coyotes. I'm not thinking bears. Honestly, I have nothing here. I'm not thinking snakes, alligators, nothing. That's just my small little section of the world. You go a little bit south, you go west, like, yeah, there's predators out there. And directly what you guys are targeting is you're not going to see these, let alone at night. You're not going to see them. Like, I'm assuming they don't move until the last second as part of their defense, right? I'm assuming. So that's the reason why a lot of people do get bit.
Right.
It's not like they're just going to jump out of the way. So I give you a lot of credit, for really getting into that anti-snake bite product line. It's so important. I just, again, it's just one of those things that just I don't even think about with where I live, but it's
right.
So critical. I could see probably 10 guys in here for a fact that are going to need something, anti-snake puncture. So it's critical. So I give you a lot of credit. And
Yes,
for like what you were saying before, anybody can say whatever they want until you go try and build something. Go try and patent something. Go try and actually produce something that's effective and actually makes it to market. So,
yeah.
They don't. People don't know. It's easy to run them out. Talk is cheap. But
they do, and we're very humble. Like I get it, and we're not gonna rip somebody up. It's just you just kind of smile and keep going. And I try to make if somebody hits me up on one of the social media sites, I'm just really nice about it.
Right.
Just like, hey, I appreciate your interest, but we're not doing that right now, or that's a great idea, but that's not something we can incorporate. So you just have to, be politically correct about it and go on your way. It doesn't slow down our drive or our directions.
No. If anything, it's motivation. Just fuel the
That
tank at that
and
point.
sometimes you can learn from those comments.
Yep.
And it sounds silly, but a lot of times somebody told me, one of my good buddies actually that's in the outdoor businesses or has an outdoor business said, a lot of times when people are making negative comments, it's because they're jealous of your product or they think it's a great idea and they didn't come up with it. And you should listen to what they're saying and learn from it. Like use that as hey, maybe we're doing something right. If we're getting a lot of negativity, which is kind of hard to swallow, but I see where I've seen it happen with us already. But it doesn't bother us. We're just like I said, we're slow growing. As far as we want a slow, steady growth of our company. We want quality stuff. We want people to have Gators 3 years later and be like, man, I still have my Gators I bought 3 years ago, and I don't have, they're still in great shape, and I put them through the ringer. Or like a guy we've got in Canada that's been using them, that he periodically posts stuff for us. He's worn out the Velcro already because he's worn them so much. And I'm like, well, that's great, man. I mean, if you got a year out of them, putting them on every day in and out of the snow and everything, and you've worn the Velcro out, you got your use out of them for $65. You know what I mean?
Okay.
A lot of people
we did have one question. Do you have an approximate weight for the snake gators?
The snake gators. Let me see. I know they're right over a pound for both of them. So they're slightly heavier than the Cahutas. Let's see.
It's not bad though. I mean, that's
no.
Especially once you're wearing them, that's nothing.
I got a little sheet right here on the Cahutas. I know the Cahutas are weighing in 7.5 ounces each. So that's just under a pound, right? And it's 16 ounces in a pound.
Yep.
So that's 15 ounces for the Cahutas for both of them. And then the snakes are probably about like 1.2. You may just over a pound. You can't tell when they're on, which is nice. And this is the other thing. I mean, this is our snake gator. Same deal, right? So I told you, like most snake gators are rigid. They're very rigid. Snake chaps, rigid. This is our snake gator. Same deal. That's a snake gator. But they're flexible. I mean, they're very flexible. You can twist them. You can do whatever. So.
Right, because if they weren't that flexible, I could see how wearing them for a long period of time, it could very well easily get uncomfortable quick.
Yeah.
With them not being as forgiving as they are.
So I wear the Cahutas generally at every show we go to, all day long at the shows. And I mean, other than being a little warm at the end of the day, because they've got a completely waterproof liner on them, and so it retains heat. I'll pull them off, and my legs will be sweating. I'm inside of the show at 70 degrees outside in there. My legs are sweating. So, I mean, it's virtually, they're completely waterproof. All of our gators are completely waterproof. So, which is really nice as well.
All right. I don't see any other questions. Chris, did I miss anything? I know I wanted to get Levi's out there.
Well, Tommy is asking how they perform in the Briars.
I'll
let him go.
Okay, so
they're going to be good.
These two models are completely briar-proof with the Oxford fabric. This one we designed. It's got that ripstop fabric. So if you do catch briars with this, it can pull it over time. It'll wear it out. It's kind of like a backpack material. But once again, in the design, if you look at the front of this gator, I'm trying to get it where you can see it. The very front of the gator is actually Oxford. See all the way down the front? in the center of the Velcro, and then the sleeve that houses the light. So if you have it on and you're going through briars, hitting them straight forward, you got a little bit of protection from that Oxford. It's not a lot, but we don't necessarily. I mean, these are not considered briar proof, but the other two pair are the Huttas, and the snakes are all. It's called a 600 denier Oxford material. It's super tough. I've had somebody go over a barbed wire fence and scrape their leg over there with the gaiters on, and they thought they would just rip the crap out of them when they got down. And they got down, and they couldn't even tell that they even went over a fence.
That's a pretty good test.
Yeah. And on the
we don't condone the reason why he went over the barbed wire fence, but they held up good.
That's funny. Do you sell 3 at a time? One for my third leg.
Yeah, we were gonna let that one go. That's right.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get some of those comments.
Well, you know, the good thing is you'll have the lights, so you'll be able to see your third leg.
There you go. There you go. He's rolling with it. I love it.
One of the good things I want to mention quickly about the snakes. We had live testing done as well with the snake gators. So you've seen that, I'm sure, on our videos. And
yeah.
So, and that wasn't done by some backyard guy. That guy is actually an accredited snake handler. He works for the state of Georgia's Department of Natural Resources. He houses over 250 to 300 snakes in a building that are either snakes that have been confiscated illegally from people that DNR has caught with them. So actually, in one of those videos, there's a sharp-nosed viper. So we tested with 3 snakes: the timber rattlesnake, a western diamondback that was a patternless western diamondback, which is kind of unique, but he brought them, and then that sharp-nosed viper. The sharp-nosed viper is from southeastern Asia, and it actually is faster and hits harder than a timber rattlesnake. It's got bigger fangs and everything. So when we tested those with the live snakes, we had 20, I think it was 25 or 26 bites. The way you test it, just so people know how we did our testing, which is kind of an industry standard as well. But we took the gator and put a balloon inside the gator, blow the balloon up, and then you compress the balloon with a gator, so there's pressure on the balloon. And then, since they're all pit vipers that we tested with, you use a heat gun, and you take the heat gun and we heated up. It was actually a section of the gator, which is a single layer on the side, like right here, on the top of the gator. Okay, so you take the heat gun, you heat it up, and wait for a second. Then you drop the snake on the floor, and you stick the gator and the balloon in the gator in front of the snake, and get it to try to strike the gator by the heat signature. It's very effective. They were hitting in the same spot. So 26 bites from 3 different snakes. 2 of them were dry. The rest of them all expressed venom. There's actually, in one of the videos, you can see the sharp-nosed viper, when he hits the snake gator, his fang gets caught in the gator, and you can see him shake his head trying to get it out. And the balloon survived the whole time. So there was no penetration of the balloon. No venom got through. And so that was how we did our live testing. And so we have live testing, we have lab testing, and us and Turtle Skin are the only 2 companies that have fabric-only gators, snake gators, that have been tested with live snakes and in a lab. And
I feel like that's the only way you should be doing it, honestly.
That's what we thought. But honestly, all the, some people say, well, I can buy a pair of snake gators for $49 or $69, like I was talking about with the hard plastic, and they'll give you a certification letter from the same lab we sent ours to, which they're using what they call 1200 denier Oxford, which is double the thickness of ours. That's why they're so rigid and they don't flex. And what they do, they take a piece of PVC plastic, almost like a soccer shin guard, and they sew it in between the layers. So it's going to stop a snake bite, but they're completely uncomfortable, and they're trash. But so anyway,
we had one more question, and then we're probably going to start heading towards the end of the show.
No
problem. Is there a warranty for your products, for any of them?
Absolutely. So we provide 6 months on all workmanship on the gator itself. So if a buckle breaks, stitching comes undone, anything like that, the quality of the gator itself, we actually give a 6-month warranty, which is 3 months longer than most warranties you'll have with anywhere if you look it up, because we know they'll last that long, unless something just weird happens. Now, we have had the incidents, which it's funny you said. I watched the video on how to put your gaiters on and off. We have had a couple people that I will remain nameless, try to open the gaiters up from the sleeve, like right here. So the sleeve is literally a functional, this outside part is a functional thing just to hold the light. It's not supposed to be opening the gaiters, but because the gaiter actually closes here with Velcro in the center. And there's also a buckle. And this is high strength Velcro right here. Like literally I can take it at a show on a boot and I can do like this and it won't come undone, the Velcro. So if you try to open the gaiter with the sleeve right here, it's going to rip every stitch out all the way up there. And that's what happened. They had a brand new pair of gaiters. They reached down, got done with a hunt, pulled them off like that and just ripped them. So herein lies the disclaimer video that we made.
Yeah, you don't know. It's
So
one of those
under
things. It's just not meant
proper
for
use, you have a 6-month warranty and 90 days on the electronics, so the lights. So we'll replace them for free.
That's very solid. Very solid.
And the good thing is down the road, like we don't sell the straps on our website, but we do sell extra lights, white and red. But if somebody broke a strap down the road, we have extras. So it's one of those things like, hey, we'll charge you $5 or $10. We'll send you a strap, or we may just send it to you. Because I had a guy say, yeah, if I break a strap, I was like, dude, if you break a strap, you'll be the first one, and I'll send you a free strap. How about that? So, but yeah, that's a pretty good warranty.
Absolutely. So, all right, gentlemen. Chris, why don't you take us through the wrap through tonight? Let's make sure we get all his social media accounts, where we can find the products, and if there's anything new coming in the works that he's allowed to talk about. And I'll wrap up some of the comments here.
All right, so we'll roll right into it. I got 2 questions for you as we roll out. Do you have any long-term goals for? I guess we'll say short-term goals first for the company.
So product development, obviously we have the boots working in the background. That's going to be, people ask, and I'm like, it's going to be a little while on that, for a lot of different reasons that we don't have time to go into, but that eventually will come to fruition. Our next step, we're actually got a couple different things we're working on. We're working on some industrial gaiters, like for DOT crews, that are reflective gaiters with lights, so they can use them at night, like the night crews or paving companies or whatever, any kind of construction job that happens at night or early in the morning. They're basically a cheap little $20 pair of gaiters you strap on, and they got a light on them, and they got reflective, the yellow and orange reflective gear.
Smart.
We have some of those going out right now, being tested. So like
could really benefit from them, Rob. Engineers.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
It's like a Seinfeld episode with you two.
Yeah. So that's something that's kind of being worked in the background. The other thing that recently has come around is we're actually working with, I don't know if you guys have seen us working with Paul Ansick with Mountain Men. He's a guy at the Mountain Men series on on History Channel.
Yep.
So Paul's the guy that is on that show, and he's up in off grid in northwestern Montana, and him and his son Chance have really taken a liking to the gators. But we're actually in development right now with Paul, because he's a coyote and wolf trapper. So we're actually going to be working on a pair of chaps, and they're going to be basically designed with his input for coyote trappers. and wolf trappers. So in their line of work, we were going to design them exactly. Obviously it's going to be a lot of the similar materials we use, and then we're going to try to branch off that potentially down the road into like ranchers and offer the ranchers the same style chaps with lights and snake protection in them as well.
No, that's awesome.
So
now that we've talked a little bit about the company, what would you say are some longer term goals personally for yourself?
Personally, I would like to do this a lot more full time than being in an operating room every day, because I like the outdoors. So I enjoy getting out to these shows. I love talking with people about hunting. I'd like to hunt more myself. Obviously, I'm so slammed with time, with family, work, and doing this. My hunting has been very negligible this year. I think I went out 3 times this past season, which I normally go out way more than that, maybe 20 times in a season. So, I'd like to create, obviously get down the road. Everybody's dream is to have a product they can sell and just live off that. But we live in a realistic world too. Like that takes a long time to create something like that. So we are in it for the long haul. We're not going anywhere. A lot of people are like, well, you guys aren't like getting huge or whatever. You guys, all these people thought like, well, we're gonna, make it big in the second month, and you guys are gonna be on Shark Tank and blah blah blah. And I'm like, that's not how you do it. You develop. We like developing relationships with people, good people in the hunting world. Obviously, the kind of people that I was talking about, like the real people. You guys see it all the time over the internet and on social media, the ones that are not so real. But we're trying to keep it real and develop this company into something where you can pick up the phone and call us and be like, hey, I got this idea, or I got, my gators are doing this, got any suggestions on what I can do with that, or hey, you guys ever thought about doing, so we're open to input. We're open to all that. We're not so hard headed like, oh, this is the only way we're going to do it. So obviously we never thought of making chaps. We were in the gator and boot business initially, but Paul approached us and was like, guys, there are no chaps out there that would work, and I know you guys can make them. And I'm like, yeah, we totally make them. So like literally, I'm getting on a phone call with them tonight after this live.
Very cool.
And we're going over measurements, dimensions, things what he'd want on things, and we're going to be producing that soon, a prototype for him. And I may be going to a show with him in Virginia this summer, where he's like the main person of the show, doing talks, and he's got a booth, and I may go up there with him. It's a trapper show. It's a wolf trapping show. So I may just pop in, fly up there, and meet him and debut the wolf, chaps. So
perfect timing. If you're ever going to pick a spot, that's the spot to be.
Yeah. So
very cool.
We're steadily getting into more stores, but we're doing it locally because that's the way to do it. You support the people around you, and then eventually it'll take off. So we're getting to a lot more stores. We're in Florida, Alabama, Georgia, Montana now. We got some sales overseas as well. So it's spreading. I wouldn't say like wildfire, because it takes a while. People don't realize what it is. That's the biggest thing we find in the South. People in the South don't wear gaiters. And that's why we developed snake gaiters, because they understand snake protection. And they'll put a snake gaiter on for snake protection. But as far as wearing a gaiter with a light, first of all, they don't know what a gaiter is. So we've had to explain that to a lot of people down here. So it's very... we have to send stuff to the right places. So we have to send our regular gaiters up north to people up there that use gaiters and understand it. And then we developed snake gaiters for Texas and Florida and Louisiana and the southern states where there are, it's a geographical thing where there are venomous snakes and people that are encountering snakes, the Midwest where there's rattlesnakes. So you have to target your right environments. So we're having to learn how to do all that and get into different stores. we're going to be in a publication. There's 2 different review companies that are going to review us here soon. We're also getting an Ohio Sportsman.
Right.
We're going to have a half-page ad in that it's their fall edition. It's going to come out in August, I think. So we'll have a half-page ad in that with our Gators debuting there. And so we're just slowly just rolling with stuff, living life and having a good time with this company and trying to meet good people and do fun stuff like this. Is what it's all about,
We agree. I mean, you're talking about like reaching that everyday person. Like that's who we have here. That's the crowd that we kind of assembled ourselves with. And like you're saying, you're doing it the right way. You're building a quality product for the people that need it, that want it, that are going to use it. So
right.
you're not going to cut any corners. And people realize that.
Yeah.
They realize it. So you guys are going to do good. You guys are already on the right track by all means. So we're excited. I can tell by the comments. A lot of guys are excited. A lot of guys already gave you a page to follow.
Yeah.
Obviously, once Chris wraps up here, we're going to make sure we tag you guys. And from here on out, anything we can do to support you and anybody that was following tonight, I know they're going to help you out. So that's what it's all about. We're here to network and help each other out. When it's a good product, we share it.
Well, we appreciate that. Yeah, it's that's the biggest part of this game is getting it in front of people or getting it in their hands and them saying, wow, these are really cool, or like we've got people taking them and like throwing out their Kinetrex skaters. Like, these Kinetrex are junk compared to these. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to say that, but I'm glad you realized it, and they're half the price too. So, and you got a light.
Yep. So, all right. So why don't you while we're on that point, why don't you let everybody know any social media that you do have, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, mainly where they can find all your merchandise as well, if that's the same spot.
Okay, so we do have a website. So it's www.lightedfootwear.com. And then at NightHawk Footwear is our Instagram, and Facebook is NightHawk Footwear. There's 2 different pages on Facebook. One's a business page, and then one's a main page. So you can follow both of them. I post sometimes mostly the same stuff on both those pages, sometimes others. Instagram, it's at NightHawk. Not Instagram, I'm sorry. TikTok is at NightHawk Gators, and there's also an at NightHawk Footwear. I think I just saved the name. But most stuff's at NightHawk Gators on there. We're on YouTube, which we don't have a whole lot of followers, but we don't use it a whole lot. But it's NightHawk Footwear on YouTube. And then what's the other one? Twitter. We have a NightHawk Footwear on Twitter. I think it's NightHawk Footwear. It's either that or NightHawk Gators. Hold on one second. I'll pull it up for you. Yeah, it's NightHawk at NightHawk. No. At Lighted Footwear on Twitter. And then we're on LinkedIn as well, company page, NightHawk Footwear. So there's a lot of different places you can find us. And most of our great videos are on Facebook and Instagram. So and a lot of stuff is pinned with the snake testing and all that. And if anybody out there has any questions or wants to see a particular video, like, hey, show me some waterproofing stuff, I could steer, just send me an instant message or something. I usually check them during the day. And I'll try to point you to that type of video or something that'll show you or demonstrate what we're talking about. So.
Absolutely. That's perfect. I think we are at that time, gentlemen. So, Chris, why don't you wrap this up, buddy? It's a great show, but all good things must come to an end.
So, with that, thank you everybody for tuning in tonight. Jason, thank you for taking the time and finally, we're finally able to. We appreciate you taking a little more than a minute to sit down and talk with us about this. We're definitely looking forward to getting the product. In case anybody wants to know, yes, I am taking a set of these to Africa, hence why I asked about testing in Africa. I thought I'd be the first, but unfortunately, I can't win them all. So, definitely, Jason, thank you so much for taking some time out and sitting with us. Dave, thank you as always. To all our viewers, thank you for tuning in tonight. In case you missed it, we are still running the raffle. We're benefiting the American Bear Foundation, Wounded Warriors in Action, and the NYPD Archery team. Tickets are still available, but they are moving, so we're past the halfway point. Who knows how much longer? There's only 500 tickets available. Message Dave, myself, or Rob if you're interested in purchasing tickets. And with that, I hope you all will join us next week for another episode of Pursuit Live. Everybody, have a good night.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you,
Thank
Jason.
you.
And I'll catch you guys next week.
Thank you, guys.
You got it.